Hello and welcome to the 2020 BEK Communications Cooperative Annual Meeting informational video. We're obviously in a time here in the United States and around the world that has changed how we do business on a daily basis. Today I'm joined by Board President and Chairman Brett Stroh, as well as Legal Counsel Monte Rogneby, and we're going to take you through what's going to happen this year and how we're going to address the 2020 annual meeting. BEK is committed to having its annual meeting, and Brett, when we think about that statement, the commitment that BEK has, they've done some things recently that's going to allow us to have this annual meeting.
Yes, of course, you all know that our annual meeting is a must. It's in our bylaws, it states that we are to have an annual meeting in June. And because of everything that's going on, they're telling us you can't. Well, at BEK, we can, because we've done some things and made some investments over the years with BEK Broadcasting and BEK Sports that are going to allow us to do it.
And we talk about the things that the governor has put out, and obviously the thoughts of social distancing and no more than 10 people in location. Just like every other business, BEK, as we had in this annual meeting, is going to follow that same protocol.
Yep. We've done lockdowns in our offices. The doors are locked, so we're going to do the same thing. And if they don't want us to have an annual meeting and have all of you come together, we're going to find another way to do it, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
So the next phase is why are we having the annual meeting? Why is the annual meeting important, and why are we having it? And I think when we look at a cooperative, Brett, we look at it from being essential and critical. And there's a number of different places that we as a cooperative serve that need our service, that need our business to not only live, but to run their own business as well.
We do all communications, not just simply to you, the members, but we provide it to businesses all over the state. In fact, we do in our areas, we provide the fiber that feeds the towers, the cell phone towers. So most valuable. And we found that to be even more so the case because of all of this people having to work from home. Now they're relying on us to provide that connection between them and their offices.
And from the standpoint of public safety, people are at home, they're not out and about as much, so they need to be able to have that link to the world. And we talk about that, as a cooperative, connections that matter. These connections couldn't matter any more than they do right now from the standpoint of being able to make sure that the public has what they need to go on what is now coming, the new normal.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case. We feel we're in a good spot to provide that link that you need as customers and members, and we want to fulfill that.
There's three important pieces that we're going to cover in this annual meeting, similar to what we would cover in annual meetings that have taken place in the past. Number one is there's going to be 3 director elections on their terms that expire on June 11th. So that's an important piece of what the cooperative does on a yearly basis to ensure that we have the ability to service our members and have the voice of the members through those board elections. Also, there's going to be 3 proposed bylaw changes that we're going to look at as well in the annual meeting that we're going to go over here in a couple moments from now. And finally, the approval, obviously, as we do every year, of the 2019 annual meeting minutes. And Monte, I turn to you now, and I guess the big question is, we talk about why are we having it and why it's important, but can we have the meeting without a quorum in attendance?
Yes, the bylaws allow for a live meeting with members present, and also allows for members who are not present to participate through a signed written ballot. So the signed written ballots count for the quorum requirement.
As far as we look at the areas, obviously we have to have the board meeting every month in June. Designated area, the board is established within its service territory of Burley, Emmons, Kidder, Logan, Sheridan, McLean, and McIntosh County. So that's obviously an important piece. And then we talk about the word quorum. Define quorum for the folks at home, Monte, that may not understand what the true numbers behind a quorum really is.
Sure. What a quorum is the minimum number of people present at the meeting or participating through a signed ballot so that business of the cooperative can be conducted. In this case, a quorum is 2% of the total members either present or on those items where a signed ballot has been received. As long as the cooperative receives 2% signed ballots back, the cooperative can proceed to conduct business on those items.
So we're going to kind of bring into play this year that mail-in ballot, that ballot that we're going to provide the members of BEK Communications Cooperative to each one of you at home that you're going to receive in the mail. And those letters, those ballots are an incredibly important piece of what we're going to do, because we can't hold the annual meeting traditionally as we have for over 65 years. We know that it's important to have that quorum. So with the new normal comes changes. With changes, we're trying to find the answer and allowing us as the cooperative and you as the members to be able to see and be a part of everything that happens here at the cooperative. And we're really going to talk, as we have in the past, of the 6 major components that we're going to be covering within this annual meeting. Obviously, the approval of the minutes from 2019, as we do at the beginning of every annual meeting when it's held in attendance. We have elections of officers and board members in Districts 1, 2, and District 3. District 4 will not have an election this year, so we'll have 3 elections in Districts 1, 2, and 3. And finally, 3 new bylaw amendments that we're going to propose this year to make changes to how business is done, to allow the cooperative to continue to move forward in its business as it does on a year-by-year basis. So when we call the meeting to order, Monte, we look at that quorum in person via kind of the quorum and the signed ballot. Kind of talk about how those two things add up to being the true quorum number.
Sure. So for purposes of conducting business of the cooperative can meet the quorum requirement either through people who are present at the meeting or through signed ballots received from members prior to the meeting. So in this case, because it's not safe to have a meeting with everybody all in one place, the cooperative will proceed to have its meeting with a few members present and the remainder of the members participating through signed ballots.
As we look at the quorum and making sure that we can meet that need, we kind of focus now again on the mail-in ballot that each member is going to receive at their home. And the first business item on that ballot, which you'll see in the top left-hand corner of that ballot, is the approval of the 2019 annual meeting minutes. So again, top left-hand corner, as you see on your screen now, is the approval of the 2019 minutes. There's a yes box and a no box. We ask that as you fill those boxes in, that you use blue or black ink and that you fill those boxes in fully. Go back to when you took ACT tests or you took standardized testing when you were in school. You had the number 2 lead pencil. We've shifted a little bit from the pencil to the pen. But I've asked you to fill that box in and fill it in clearly just to ensure that we can count that ballot and to make sure that everything is kind of on the screen as you see it is filled in correctly as we go through that. Again, located in the annual meeting reports, we will mail out on May 26th those ballots. You'll receive them in the mail. We'll ask you to fill those ballots out and again, return them in the self-addressed envelope that'll be included within that mailing. Again, filling in the box by indicating either yes or no. The second business item that we'll cover within the annual meeting coming up on June 11th is the election of directors. Again, we have 3 director elections that are going to be held this year. Districts 1, 2, and 3. In District 1, you have Sanford Williams, the incumbent. In District 2, you have Bob Subart, the incumbent. And in District 3, you have Kevin Barnhart, the incumbent. As you receive your ballot in the mail, you'll receive the ballot that correlates the district in which you originate from. So you'll see your board of director that's running for election. That name will be on the ballot, and just like you see in the approval of the minutes, there'll be a box next to that name. Please fill that box in completely and clearly with a blue or black ink pen to make sure that we can count that ballot. Also below that name will give you the district area in which you occupy, just to give you some background information as to where that director is coming from. So again, Districts 1, 2, and 3, Sanford Williams, the incumbent in District 1, Bob Subart, the incumbent in District 2, and Kevin Barnhart, the incumbent in District 3. We move along now in our annual meeting review video, and we take a look at what is bylaw amendment number 1. And that amendment allows the board of directors the authority to establish a designated area of the cooperative for the purposes of defining the geographical area for membership. And when we talk about membership, Brett, and we look at this, BEK has over 11,000 customers and members, but that membership is only 5,000 of those 11,000. So I think we would look at the membership versus customer. Those are 2 kind of completely different numbers. And more importantly, since 2001, membership was over 7,500 in 2001. Now it's less than 5,000.
Yeah, definitely the ILEC has has shrunk in size. And as a co-op, we don't want just customers. We want people that are members, because members participate. And so the idea of not just having customers to a co-op is not our way of thinking. We want everybody to be members at some point.
And we think about the growth. Obviously, when you look at the cooperative, member growth is really important to restoring the strength of the cooperative and helping the cooperative grow as we move forward into 2021 and beyond.
Yes, it's important that we have members and feel that growth or have that growth, not just because we want members, but because we get ideas from where their perspective and what they're doing as part of our growth. And as a customer, you don't have that input.
The other thing is the idea that there's a lot of people that are out there that have been customers of BEK for 10 years. And the question then is they've been customers for 10 years, why not make them members?
And that's the board's feeling too. We did the same thing and when we bought the U.S. West Territories, it was approximately 10 years when we made bylaw changes to allow them to become members, and they've served us well as members. We've added new directors. So to incorporate that, the plan probably isn't now to add more directors, but to add more territories so that we have more members.
And Brett, we look now at the idea that this section of the bylaws really hasn't been changed since 1952, and the growth has continued. The growth in rural Barnes County, the growth in rural Morton County, in Valley City and around those areas. And this really takes an idea of this growth and really handicaps or handcuffs the board and their ability to move the cooperative forward.
Yeah, the way things are set up now, in order for the board to expand a territory to allow membership in those other territories, it's a bylaw change. And every time we have to do a bylaw change, it takes time. Now, the board's probably not ready to bring those members in tomorrow, but we want to have that authority ready so that it can be done, and it can be done in a timely fashion.
The other part of it that we haven't really touched on is the idea that there are 3 competitors for every service that the cooperative offers. And as we look at the growth, or as we look at strengthening the cooperative from a membership standpoint, those 3 competitors are always nipping at the heels of the cooperative as it sits and as not only our members, but our customers. So you have to think, and the board has to think, that there's some value in knowing that with those competitors out there in the market, that growing the strength of the membership helps grow the strength of the organization.
Oh, definitely. Members always help when it comes to competition. As a member, you're going to feel loyalty to your co-op just as we feel loyalty to the member. Always better to be a member than a customer.
And we move along now to what is proposed bylaw amendment number 2. And this really comes down to the ability for the board of directors to allow concurrent real-time participation in meetings of the members through internet or electronic services. And for the last 67 years, the meeting has been at Steel. The meeting has been at a location. And with the current state of affairs of where we are in the world today, the board has seen some value in wanting to allow those people that may not be able to be in attendance to be a part of that meeting and be an active participant in a meeting they may not be able to be at.
And this is something that we talked about before this pandemic ever started, but now it brings it to light how much easier and things could be done a lot easier, better for everybody if we could have the meeting going on and you could sit at home, watch it, and in real time watch the votes. You could approve minutes. You could vote for your candidate. You could vote for bylaws and have it explained in real time.
The other part of it, Brett, that I think we talk about is the idea of how many people are actually been in attendance from a physical aspect. That number continues to dwindle, and you and I both know that lives are busier today than they ever have been. There's more things going on than there ever has been as it pertains to people and what they're doing on a daily basis. And this piece is incredibly important just to make sure that we allow those people who may be elderly, who may be busy with being in the field, who may have kids in sports, who, all the things that happen, them the opportunity to take what really is that real-time, concurrent, and active role in their cooperative.
Yep, and if we have the meeting every year in Steel, if you're watching it in Wishick, you're now no further than the person that drove from Steel as to Wishick. It doesn't matter where you're at, or you're in Valley City, or you're in Bismarck. To watch it on the TV, you're as close as anyone else. you're right there right now.
And we've talked about too the amount of people that are controlling kind of the growth of the cooperative, and as it pertains to how many people are actually in attendance. Really, we're talking about 7% of the overall membership is what's voting on a yearly basis. And with this year and the new ballots that are being mailed out to everybody, we put a little caveat in there to try to really advance that mission and make sure that people have their ability to have their voice heard.
Yeah, if you send the ballot in and sign it, that's the most important. You got to have it signed so we can count it. We're going to give you a $10 credit on your bill. So do it. I mean, it's $10, nothing else.
$10 is $10. The last piece I want to talk about in this amendment, Brett, is just the idea that we aren't taking away the in-person meeting. I think people hear electronic and they see what's happening and they have grave concern about, well, I want to go there. And you talk about it as a board, how important it is to get in front of your members. You don't get that opportunity all that often. And you want to be able to have that in-person, that handshake, that kind of reunion, if you will, on a yearly basis. That's going to continue. This is just an additional piece to help allow those people who may not be able to make that drive or may not be able to take that time to be a part of it.
It's very important for us to have that meeting. We want to meet with you and talk with you, shake your hands, share that ice cream bar. Derek knows that he better have an ice cream bar. So yes, that's an ultimate that we want to have the meeting, and we want everybody to come. We're just trying to give everybody an alternative if they can't be there. We still encourage you to be there. That's the most important. And share supper with us, have a little snack, and maybe some entertainment. You know, I'm sorry we can't do that this year, but maybe next year.
And we move now to our final bylaw amendment, number 3, which really talks about where the meeting is held, the organizational meeting is held after the annual meeting. Monte, when we look at this from the legal standpoint, this is really just a changing of the vernacular to allow the cooperative to shift wherever they have that organizational meeting at the conclusion of the annual meeting.
That's right. So how the bylaw was originally written is that every year after the annual meeting, the board has an organizational meeting to elect the president and its officers. And the way the bylaws are written is that meeting is to occur in the same place as the annual meeting. Typically, the annual meeting is held at the school in Steele, and the reorganization meeting is held in the boardroom at the headquarters in Steele. And so this change really is just cosmetic to reflect the practice of the cooperative to have that organizational meeting in the boardroom rather than at the school.
Brett, from the board standpoint, you guys have done the organizational meeting at the cooperative headquarters in Steele and not at the school. Obviously, when the annual meeting wraps up, everybody's tearing things down. They're trying to move on from that process. Yeah. How important is it in that time, right? I mean, you may gain 1 board member, you may gain 2, you may gain 3. How important is that time for you as a board to kind of do what really is that welcoming process and to decide who the officers are going to be for the next year?
Well, it's very important. It sets a precedent for the board. We were, when I first got on the board, we were actually doing, as the bylaw stated, we'd set up a table, we would have a meeting, and the only reason that we moved it back to the corporate office is that it gave the employees time to tear down. Instead of us setting more stuff up for them to tear down, we moved it over there and got out of their way so they could get done what they needed to do. We still have the meeting that night so that it's done. And a lot of times Derek has something else that needs to be brought up and dealt with that night too. So it works good that way. We have all the equipment in the boardroom to watch videos or slides or something that needs to be done so we can do a better job. And it just makes it work more compatible.
So as we wrap up this instructional video here today, a lot of the things that we've covered will be provided, and all of the things we've covered will be provided in your annual report book, which you'll see in your mail here in the mid to late part of May. We'll also send those ballots out, keeping in mind on those ballots, there's a number of different things we need you to do. Number 1 is you'll have to decide yes or no on approval of the 2019 annual minutes. Again, fill out that box fully, blue or black pen. If you're in districts 1, 2, or 3, you'll be selecting a board of director candidate for your district, so fill that box in as well. And you're going to vote on the 3 amendments that we've covered in today's video. All of the verbiage with those amendments will be included in the annual report book. And most importantly with that ballot is to make sure you sign it at the bottom, keeping in mind that ballot is not counted unless it's signed by a member and sent back to us via mail. There will be a self-addressed stamped envelope within the mailing that you receive. We ask that you send that letter back in that self-addressed stamped envelope to make sure that that vote is counted. If we do not receive that after it's postmarked by June 5th, we cannot count that vote. So making sure that you include that self-addressed stamped envelope in the ballot. Ballot goes in the envelope gets mailed back to us here, and then we're able to count those ballots and move forward with the 2020 June 11th annual meeting. And as we wrap up, Monte, there's a lot of things that have changed since 1952, and that's kind of what we're talking about here today, all the changes that have happened.
Yes, the bylaws were written like I mentioned, in 1952, and what the board is presenting to the membership as part of these three amendments are updates to the bylaws to reflect modern circumstances and the business of the cooperative and how that business has changed over time.
And Brett, as you look at what we've done today, what we're doing today, what we're going to be doing on June 11th, you've been on the board for a number of years. What is your thought and the growth that the co-op has seen and how important these bylaw amendment changes and just the ability to distribute the annual meeting to more people, how important is that to the longevity and the growth of this members cooperative?
It sets the pace. It sets the pace where we're headed and what we're going to accomplish. We want to give the board just a little bit more rein as to how we get there. And we want you to be a part of it, and that's why it's here for you to vote on. We ask that everybody vote. I would like to see one of the best turnout in voting that we've seen in the past. And we know that you'll vote the way your heart desires, and that's why you're the owners. I would also like to interject that the employees have done a fantastic job during this pandemic time, gone way above and beyond. And if you see one of them, tell them thank you too.
If a member has received the information and they have a question, you as the board president, the chairman, and the rest of the board, you guys are very open and welcoming and willing to have those discussions.
Our phone numbers are in the book that's going out. They're in your phone book. You can call either the office, or you can call your director, or you can call myself. We have the information, and we certainly want you to have the information the right way.
Well, again, we appreciate Brett Stroh and Monte Rogneby for joining us. Keep in mind that the June 11th annual meeting will be held. It just will not be held in Steele. So we ask you, please don't show up to the school on June 11th. The annual meeting will not be held at the school. It will not be an open forum as it has been in years past. It will be televised on BEK TV in your local area. So we ask you to check out the annual meeting and watch it as we've televised it for the last 11 years, and we'll continue to televise it moving forward. All of us here at BEK Communications Cooperative wish you to stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe, and we hope to see you at the annual meeting in 2021.